With the push to get Arizonans vaccinated, we explore why communities of color are so hesitant to get the vaccine.
Plus, a look at how Arizona's congressional districts are changing and what this could mean for voters.
And later this half hour on Break It Down, how Hispanic culture is appropriated in food, music, and media.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Karina Espinosa.
And I'm Jackson Zuber. Thanks for joining us.
Over 1 million Arizonans have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. That's according to the Arizona Department of Health Services. The vaccine rollout has been seen as a success to some, but not all. Cronkite News reporter Mitchell Zimmerman explains how communities of color are still hesitant to get the vaccine.
Doses of COVID-19 vaccines are being administered quickly, but some people are hesitant to receive one. Health experts are trying to change that. Hannah Hyland says she is not ready to get the COVID-19 vaccine.
What it makes me especially skeptical would not be like, let's say, the side effects or like how fast the vaccine came out. I do believe that more medical testing is going on right now, and I just don't want to be that medical testing.
She is not alone. An analysis of recent data by Kaiser Family Foundation shows that vaccinations among people of color appear to be behind whites. Hyland is an Asian American.
For the most part, I believe that like Latinx communities, Black communities, any person of color, honestly, are and have been treated as less than.
Elisa Chapital of Mayo Clinic says reasons for vaccine hesitancy among minorities vary.
There are a lot of issues that surround people not getting vaccines, and there's fear that may be involved.
Experts believe that history of medical experimentation on people of color, non-consensual surgeries on slaves, and the Tuskegee syphilis studies on Black men are also factors. But for Hyland, there are other reasons.
I feel as though it's not a boundary of information coming in about the vaccine, or like what to do, where to get it, what's in it.
Black, Indigenous, and Latino people are more likely than whites to get the virus. But only 47% of Hispanics and 20% of Blacks said they would get a vaccine, compared with 55% of whites. According to Chapital, it's on medical professionals to educate the public.
It's not a good thing to perpetuate these stereotypes. It's on us to educate folks.
Several medical experts are trying to address the hesitancy people of color feel about the COVID-19 vaccine. The Mayo Clinic recently held a town hall with several experts on the vaccines to help dispel some of the myths that are attached to them.
So why should white Americans be concerned? Well, without minority participation in vaccines, we may not have enough people vaccinated to reach herd immunity in the United States.
Hyland says there is still a lot of work to do.
It's more of just building up that trust again in the process and in the people who are administering it.
According to the Arizona Department of Health Services vaccine dashboard, only 15% of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered to people of color. 35% of vaccine doses administered are categorized as unknown or another race. In the broadcast center, Mitchell Zimmerman, Cronkite News.
Flags are flying half-staff today as more than 500,000 Americans have now lost their lives due to COVID-19. Last night, 500 candles lined the White House representing the 500,000 lives lost in America due to the pandemic. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and their spouses led the nation in a moment to honor those people. President Biden also delivered a eulogy in which he said the nation is making a grim milestone, but will smile again despite the grief the country is feeling. Meanwhile, the CDC confirms the number of COVID cases is steadily declining for the 5th week in a row.
A fourth state-run mass vaccination site is set to open next month. According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, the site at Chandler Gilbert Community College will be up and running by March 3rd. You can register for appointments starting March 1st. The site will be open from 7 to 5 p.m. daily. Like the other 3 sites here in Arizona, this one will also be distributing the Pfizer vaccine. The goal is to increase vaccinations and vaccine access for people in our state.
With COVID-19 cases trending downward across the state, the University of Arizona is now allowing classes up to 50 students to return in-person learning. They're also relaxing restrictions placed on students living in dorms. The school will continue to enforce social distancing and mask wearing, and on-campus students must get weekly COVID-19 tests. Those who don't comply will risk losing access to campus Wi-Fi. As for the dorms, students can now use amenities like game tables and socialize with guests in common areas.
Arizona is one of just a handful of states in the country where its citizens play a key role in plotting the boundaries for the legislative districts. Abigail Verowick explains how this process works. Abigail?
In the year 2000, Arizona voters created the Independent Redistricting Commission, or the IRC, which allowed a group separate from lawmakers to plot the federal and state legislative districts. But what exactly does this mean? The committee is made up of 5 members who redraw district lines every decade. The members include 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 1 independent. Members use the information from the U.S. Census data to redraw the legislative boundaries for federal and state seats. The hope is that the IRC will prevent gerrymandering as there is less chance for bias and skewed results. Each time they meet, the committee starts from scratch, meaning they are not allowed to consider districts that already exist or the members of Congress who hold their seats. This year, the IRC chose Chandler psychologist Erica Newberg, an independent, to lead the committee. Newberg says that this is a responsibility at the heart of democracy.
So our job is really to objectively, and in my mind, scientifically, I'm an academic, take what the Constitution tells us to do and plug it in, meet with our entire state to understand their priorities, and then do our best job to carve up the districts. You know, for me personally, the opportunity to serve my state and, you know, have the most transparent, honest process with integrity during this, I think, politically tense time, that really spoke to me.
Newberg is honored to begin her role, and her goal is to keep everything as transparent as possible. The other members are Republicans David Mell, a Tucson real estate developer, and business owner Douglas York. The 2 Democrats are Mesa Community College professor Shireen Lerner and Navajo Nation businessman Derek Watchman. All of the IRC meetings are live streamed and available to the public. The IRC was supposed to meet today, but has postponed the next meeting to March 2nd. At the Google touchscreen, Abigail Verowick, Cronkite News.
Right now, states across the U.S. are seeing some pretty extreme weather. In Illinois, Lake Michigan froze. There are still food and water shortages in Texas after last week's deadly winter storms. And many states are experiencing COVID-19 vaccine delays, thanks to Mother Nature. Tyler Mannion is joining us now from the Cronkite News Weather Center with a look at our weather here in Arizona. Tyler?
Yeah, like you said, storms being experienced in other states, but of course not in Arizona. Let's look at the Futurecast right here. All the way until Friday, these are the clouds moving through the Grand Canyon State. You can see not a whole lot, which is not really a surprise. As we look at the highs for today, you can see 79 degrees in Phoenix, 57. I guess that's kind of chilly for Arizona up in the Grand Canyon, and the rest of the state looking pretty moderate, nothing too hot, nothing too cold. Moving forward, let's look at the UV index for tomorrow, because that's something we get to do since we live in Arizona, right? You're going to sunburn in 45 minutes outside tomorrow because the UV index is 5. Nowhere else in the country aside from maybe Florida and some other places do you get to say that. So enjoy that as we move forward. And speaking of moving forward, how about tonight? 75 degrees and sunny just before sunset at 6 p.m. And then the stars come out to shine until 10 p.m. at 63 degrees. It's a beautiful night in case you want to go stargazing. Looking out for the rest of our week, our next 3 days. Perfect. Can't ask for better than this. 80 degrees, 73 and 75. And then the 5 days after that in our 8-day planner, snow. No, of course not. We live in Arizona, people. It's going to be gorgeous, except for Sunday. Stay inside on Sunday because we might actually get rain. Otherwise, we're going to be in the 70s. It is a beautiful next week for weather, so enjoy it. In the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Tyler Mannion.
The Arizona Sci-Tech Festival is celebrating its 10th season this year. Like so many things, the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed the month-long festival to a digital format only. Cronkite News reporter Nick Shesky explains what's different this year. Nick, what do you got?
This year, Sci-Tech's 10th anniversary festival will be a month-long online event, as the festival moves online due to the pandemic. While this year's festival is online, Sci-Tech has plenty of fun at-home activities planned for families. Robots, rockets, that's the kind of thing you would typically see at a normal Arizona Sci-Tech festival. But this year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the festival is in an all-online format.
I think the planning of this festival was very difficult.
The Arizona Sci-Tech Festival is an annual festival put on by the Arizona Sci-Tech Institute. The festival aims to inspire and excite kids and students about potential careers in STEM.
I knew that it was possible for people to create information that we could share on a digital platform.
Kelly Green, a former middle school math teacher, was an integral part in the planning of this year's digital festival.
I spent August, September, October, November trying to convince people, December, even January, that it's easy. Just take your cell phone and say, hey, this is so-and-so, and we're sorry we can't be at Farm Science Day, but here's our 30-ton robot. It's so cool.
Every day includes sessions for elementary, middle, and high school kids, as well as families. The new online format brings some unforeseen positives, including connecting STEM professionals from all across the state with people from all across the state.
Distance is not an issue. Somebody, could do an event from Karchner Caverns or from the Bisbee Science Lab.
Jeremy Babinger says that a global reach from the online format inspires the Sci-Tech Institute to continue pursuing future online festival events. The Arizona Sci-Tech Festival will continue to take place online until February 28th. You can find much more information about what events will be going on for the rest of the month at scitechinstitute.org. In the studio, Nick Shesky, Cronkite News.
I'm Serena Raboyne. After the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. You don't need a DeLorean to travel back to the past. After the break, we'll show you how the Arizona Coyotes are rewinding the clock.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News. Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon.
Some of the best players for their program.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Welcome back. I'm Serena Raboyne with your Cronkite Sports Report. The Coyotes can call it a comeback. They won their first game when trailing by 3 or more goals since 2018. But even with the victory, head coach Rick Tocchet was disappointed with the performance.
Tonight was bad, the first period. Yeah, we had the resiliency great. But I want to see our response in the first period next game. That's just going to be a telling thing for me. Our hockey club is how we come out in the first period against Anaheim.
All NHL teams have 3 different jerseys they can wear throughout the season. However, the league decided to add in a 4th jersey this year, calling them the Reverse Retros. Cronkite News reporter Madden Johnston-Thomas explains what's behind the new uniforms for the Arizona Coyotes.
The Arizona Coyotes recently debuted their Reverse Retro jersey, a league-wide alternate jersey program that represents unique and historical moments for NHL franchises, taking a jersey from the past and adding a unique spin. The Coyotes modeled theirs after a green jersey worn from 1999 to 2003, switching the green out for purple.
The demand has been unbelievable. We are top 5 in jersey sales for the reverse retro. At a couple points, we are leading the league in that, so that's a really good sign for us.
The design features the peyote coyote head from the Kachina logo with a desert scene along the bottom of the jersey and geckos on both shoulders. The jerseys were shown to the teams last February before the COVID-19 shutdown, and after the reveal, team officials felt that they had one of the better designs.
You know, when they unveiled it, the applause and kind of the response was definitely one of the top 3 or 4 there. And so coming out of that, I knew it was going to go over well, but it always is good to see the fans' reactions and the results in terms of merch.
Revamping a jersey can not only bring back ideas and memories from the past, but it can also provide a sense of comfort and normalcy for fans.
So if they're thinking about, the great days of the past and the good old days of sports and when it all started and when we could gather together, I think that, it's exciting to see a reinterpretation of a jersey on the players because it just gives us a symbol of hope.
The Coyotes will wear their reverse retro jerseys at every Saturday home game during February and March. In Glendale, Madden Johnstone-Thomas, Cronkite News.
The Suns haven't been this good since the Coyotes wore those jerseys. Let's break down what their success looks like. Last night's game against the Portland Trailblazers was the Suns' 20th win, while 2 years ago they had 19 wins total. It was also their 4th consecutive game of scoring at least 120 points. This is their longest streak of doing so since 2005. And to top it off, they've outscored their opponents by 92 points in the last 9 quarters. That does it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Karina and Jackson.
Thanks, Arandon. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.